feel as though is right now still is a bottleneck in your operation right now? Do you think that it is the fact that you're generating leads but not converting them? Are you converting them and you just can't take action on them? Let's listen to kind of where you're at now with the struggle.
That would capital would 1000% be my bottleneck right now.
So let's talk about that, because this is something big. In fact, I just had a conversation this morning about this with one of the local guys here that I've used for private money lending quite a bit. And what's interesting about this too is you see a lot of people right now focusing on this, and right now is the time to do this. Right now is a great time to raise capital. Even in the software world, we're seeing venture capitalists backing out. We're seeing places like TechCrunch, who was original money in Cali with Airbnb and all these other massive companies. Now Facebook they invested in Facebook, and all of these companies, VCs backing out. They're not putting money anywhere. Hedge funds in real estate not putting money anywhere. However, when those types of individuals start backing out, it's because they're unsure of the asset, right? They're unsure of what's going to go on. But as the market adjusts and shifts, what it does is it takes the general person, the person who believed in the things like the stock market and crypto and everywhere else they were putting their money, they start getting scared and taking their money out of those locations. And then their perception is that real estate is still better because they see real estate not crashing right now, right? And so that's where it's very interesting, in how it doesn't matter what's going on in the market. There's always opportunity, because if you can find the deal, then you're gonna need to find money to do it. And if you find a deal, that means that money is obviously something that we can find, because especially right now, other places aren't as secure. So this could be something you totally already see. You totally already know is happening. But one of the biggest things that people are doing right now is reaching out to people with 401k plans that they know they have 401k plans, and they're having them move their money out of 401k plans and put it in stored in real estate. So I see a lot of people doing this with like rentals, right? Instead of saying, hey, come do this flip for me, hey, store it in this rental and I'll give you equity, right? So they're getting things like really low percentage interest rates on their money, and they're trading that for a level of equity in the property, so that they can increase the amount of cash flow overall. And so it's better to be not losing money in the stock market and have it secured in an asset. So they're selling the security of the asset that's at least not going to dip. And so they can at least have the equity. And by nature of having equity, you can structure it in two different ways. You can literally give them back, or you can give them a percentage of cash flow for a lower amount of equity in the property. Or you can give them zero equity in the property and just give them cash flow only, right? So there's lots of ways to structure that. But that's the biggest thing right now. And there is companies out there such as I believe Lending Home had a similar type of model like this, where you could have and they're called something else now, but what essentially you would do is actually, it's not Lending Home. I'm sorry. It's I'll have to get it. I'll have to get you the resource. Okay. I can't think of their name right now. But essentially, it's an IRA company, and this IRA company allows you to create an account where other people can create 401ks and IRAs at their company that you can then utilize for your flips. Because the big thing with 401ks, IRAs, and all those things is that you can't, I can't use my own IRA, my self-directed 401k, in order to buy my own property. Right. And in return, it just doesn't work that way. I need somebody else's to do that. So that's a really big thing right now. And you might have already been aware of that one, but that's where you want to start leveraging all those relationships that you had or still have from the street game, if you will. That's a great place to use it. This is that 401ks, there's very few people now right now that have jobs that they're actually putting money in the 401k. So the types of individuals are going to be individuals that are in their upper 40s, 50s, that have been working at a job long enough to store away money in a 401k, you know, $100,000, $250,000 in a 401k that they've had sitting there that they now see depleting. And it's those types of individuals, and those individuals that are in that upper 50s range that are getting to the point where they got like 5, 6, 10 years left until retirement, and they can see the potential of all of their work for the last 30, 40 years just gone because of a recession. And so you can kind of give them that security of saying, hey, move it out of here, put it in this asset, and you're going to get $300 a month in cash flow, guaranteed, plus the equity in the property. And so there's a lot more security there, so you can sell that. But you got to find the right individuals. And what we find people doing, what I'm advising people to do to help find these people, is pull a list that is no different than what you would do for a property, except we're not pulling it for based off of the property. We're pulling it based off the demographics, and we're getting their property address for this. You can use Listsouce for this, and you can pull Listsouce based off demographic information. And you can find individuals that'll be in that age gap, but own a home in a specific location where you know requires them to have good jobs, where they'd have a higher likelihood of having 401k, and then do marketing directly to them through IR Apply or whatever, saying, hey, the market's crazy or whatever, and actually, you know, try to convert them. You got to be careful in how you do it, in the sense that with the whole raising capital aspect of things, make sure you do it as a soft approach, have the conversation and let them know what's going on, because you don't want to accidentally make it seem like you're doing a fundraise. But that's a really good way. Actually, people my age, they're basing it off of, like, you know, the demographics of their grandparents or their depending on who you are, where you are, you can kind of figure out who those demographics are. But
I love that the way you approach that is the same way we approach generating, you know, seller leads.
Right.
You create an avatar for what seller has the highest likelihood of selling their home right now, specifically at a discount or at numbers that we need to be able to make profit as investors. Do the same thing to, like, who has capital sitting somewhere that has the highest probability of lending in on real estate.
Right. And what's really cool too is they don't even necessarily have to, because everybody that makes, you might live in a $600,000 home, but you're broke. And more often than not, a lot of people are like that, right? Where they overbuy and make themselves broke. But they might know that buddy who lives in a $200,000 home, but works at the same job, and he's, you know, got a lot of money. And so you can open it up to make sure that, say, hey, well, if you know anybody and you can bring me, for every $100,000 that you can bring me, I'll pay you X amount of dollars once we utilize their money, right? And so you can have people say, hey, I heard of this thing. This is how back in the day, or even now, you know, people would sell, you know, go out, call doctors and stuff like that, and get them to buy, you know, stocks and stuff like that, right? They would reward and entice people. We'll bring more people from the doctor's office, and I'll give you some, you know, some money towards, or I'll lower my fee for management, you know, little things like that. And so that's the best way to go about it right now. I think that's the easiest way, to where you don't have to go out and create some other brand new process in your business and trying to figure out some way to do it, where you literally just pull some data, add it in, no different than you'd add anything else in, except for it's just the private money raise campaign. That's it. And here's another trick that you can do here. And in fact, I have a video on, I can't remember if it's the REISift page or my personal YouTube channel, but on Listsouce, you can pull a private money lender list. It's basically like a reverse buyer's list. And so what you do is you pull a list that,
like second position lenders or something.
Well, they could be first or second position, but you basically pull the list of cash transactions, and then you pull the Excel document. And when you do it, on your additional fields, you add in that you want the lender's information in the additional fields, so that when you pull that, you can see if it's a hedge fund that bought it and lended the money, if it was a hard money, and then so any of those that are just a person's name, right? It means that it's an individual that's lending that. So that's one way. And the specific option on it, it has a name that I can't recall right off the top of my head, but I do have a video on it.
Amazing.
Let me try to see what it's called really quick, though. I want to make sure that I mention it. Yeah, I'll find it. Oh, private money lender hack. This is it right here.
Boom. There we go.
Yeah. So it's under the Listsouce series on our REISift YouTube channel. It's called Private Money Listsouce Data Series by REISift. Okay. So go there and check that out. Pull that list, and what you do is you just instead of uploading the property, you upload the as the name. You upload the property and then the lender's name, and you create a separate list for it, and then you market to them as such, right? But yeah, man, that's how I would approach that. And then obviously, and until then, because you know creative strategies, I would try to utilize as much zero money down, owner finance as possible.
Yeah.
Until, but is there
And
any other?
That's part of why we like auction stuff as well. It's like ideally we could just get in for the arrears and maybe some lock-in capital.
Yeah. Yeah, and so obviously you also have other strategies you could do here. Depending on, this is just mentioning things for other individuals. You might have some rental properties that do have some equity in them. We could pull out some equity in those. Really, what we want to do right now is what a lot of companies are doing is two things as we roll into this market of uncertainty. Number one is obviously increase our amount of private capital that we have accessible to us, which we've already talked about. Number two, create 6 months runway. And number three, obviously never put too much on our plate where we can't handle. But with the runway and the raising private money capital part, those two are definitely the most important, because the more that we can do there, the better. Change our buy criteria. And a big thing right now is as you're doing these different things, as you're looking at these auction properties, it's just look at think about the avatar really heavily, because as of right now, I'm just going to use my market as an example here. As of right now, if someone were to buy a $400,000 home, right? I looked at a property this morning. They're asking $230 for it. And I know a buddy has a property just appraised 2 streets over for $399, and so buying at $230, $399, it's probably $100,000 rehab or so. There's like 60 grand on the table, and so it could make sense. 212 would be better, but the point is that as our market continues to increase in the percentage, right, of interest rates, right, a $400,000 house is going to end up costing $3,000 a month to have. And that's insane, right? That's insane to think about paying $3,000 a month for a $400,000 property. Now, New York, those are baby chump numbers when it comes to this, of 1 bedroom, 1 bath, if that. But in my market, our average purchase, you got to look at the average, what the average person makes annually in your market to see what's going to happen. So when I'm looking at these different asset classes, and I'm marketing to these auction properties, what's going to happen? Is it more likely that people are going to have to just get used to the fact that a $400,000 home isn't fully remodeled and beautiful? It's what used to be the $150,000 home, right? Or is it that prices are going to have to get pushed back because of the fact that people just can't afford the mortgages, period, right? And so there's going to be either a new type of asset, meaning property, created, or there's going to be a forced drop in the cost of homes because of the fact that people just simply can't afford those homes with the interest rates. It's more likely, just like what happened in California, what happens in New York, is it's more likely that people are going to start renting homes together. They'll rent out rooms, which is already happening locally here. You got a lot of rooms that are being shared, rented, to be able to afford the mortgage or afford the rental and stuff like that. So these are the things we want to look at. And if we study that first and understand our avatar and understand what's going to happen before we're projecting, then we can take and we can sell that story to our private money lenders, right? And say, because they're going to come back and be like, well, what if the market drops? Well, I got something for that. This is our analysis. This is what's going to happen. And so now we can kind of continue to go back, and we can even narrow in on the type of data that we are focusing on to get us in a position where we can bring in that opportunity. ADUs are going to be a big thing. Single family residence with ADUs, that potential stuff like that. So at any rate, is there anything else going on in your business that I might be able to shed any sort of light on?